So pollution is nothing but any undesirable change, be it a physical change, a chemical change, or biological changes that occur in the air, land, water, or in the soil. It is called as pollution. So automobiles are one of the major causes of atmospheric pollution, that is in the metro cities. Carbon monoxide will get converted into carbon dioxide and the nitric oxide will get converted into nitrogen gas. Hello everyone, a warm welcome to today's session on chapter 16 of second PUC, that is environmental issues. I am Dr. Divya, biology faculty, Vidhyaashram Pre-University College, Mysuru, Temple of Excellence. So we all know that the population of the world is drastically increasing day by day, and this puts an increase in the demand for transportation, for the fuel, for the food and everything, and therefore in turn it puts a lot of pressure on the nature as well, and this creates a lot of environmental issues. So about this we shall study in this particular chapter. In today's session, we shall learn about the air pollution and noise pollution and what are the different strategies to control it. Talk about the pollution. So first let's know what is pollution and what are the factors that cause pollution. So pollution is nothing but any undesirable change, be it a physical change, a chemical change, or biological changes that occur in the air, land, water, or in the soil. It is called as pollution. So a normal water, when compared to a polluted water, it has a lot of difference, right? Because an undesirable change would have occurred in that particular water. So for example, so that is nothing but pollution. So the contents which cause pollution are called as the pollutants. So the agents that bring about such an undesirable change are called as the pollutants. So we know now what pollution is, and we know that pollution are caused by agents which bring about undesirable change in the air, water, soil, etc. leading to pollution, and they are called as the pollutants. So next let's study about air pollution and how to control it. So first let's learn about the effects of air pollution. So when I say air pollution, any undesirable change occurring in the air, it is nothing but air pollution. So the harmful effects of air pollution mainly depends on the concentration of the pollutants. So how much amount of pollutants or the agents that are causing pollution are present in the air, and what is the duration of exposure of the air to the pollution, and what is the duration of the organisms that are exposed to air pollution. All that are nothing but the effects of air pollution. So first thing is, air pollution can cause harmful effects on the people or the plants or the animals living in that particular area, and that effects mainly depend on how much the pollutants are concentrated in the air, how much time a particular organism is exposed to the air, and all that. And apart from that, air pollution, it reduces the growth, and also it reduces the yields of the crops, and also it causes premature death of plants as well. So this is also one of the effects of air pollution, that is before the plants are capable of reaching maturity, or before the plants are capable of flowering and producing fruits and seeds, before that itself they will die because of air pollution. And also the growth of the plant will become stunted, or it will get reduced, and also the production or the yield of the plant will also get drastically reduced. And air pollution can also have a lot of ill effects on the human beings, wherein it will cause a lot of problem to the respiratory system of both human beings as well as animals. And apart from that, the smokestacks, that is of thermal power plants of various industries and all that, they release some harmful gaseous chemicals that when inhaled cause us a lot of problem to the animals and the human beings. So how exactly can we control this air pollution? So one of the best thing we can do is we can control or we can minimize the toxic chemicals that are let out in the form of gaseous matter by the factories and also by the vehicles, right? So there are different strategies how we can control air pollution by reducing these toxic gases that are released in the form of smoke by the vehicles and the factories. Here we'll take the example of the smokestacks of thermal power plants and smelters. So smelters are nothing but wherein the mining industries and all that, they burn these metals. They liquefy the metals. During that time, a lot of smoke is liberated, and that smoke is passed out into the atmosphere through the chimneys. So that is nothing but the smokestack. So in thermal power plants also, through the chimneys, the unwanted smoke is passed out. And in also industries also, they release a lot of particulates. Particulates are nothing but some kind of unwanted particles or chemical particles and gaseous air pollutants together with harmless gases such as nitrogen, oxygen, etc. So these gases which are released by the industries or by the thermal power plants, by the smelters and all that, they actually contain good gases also. That is, they contain nitrogen, oxygen, carbon, etc., which are needed to some extent. But apart from that, they also contain a lot of particulate matter, and they also contain a lot of toxic gaseous substances which are not good for the atmosphere. So these pollutants must be separated, that is, from the harmless pollutants. So they have to be separated or filtered out before releasing the harmless gases into the atmosphere. So according to the law, it is the duty of every industries or every thermal power plants or sectors, whoever are dealing with the release of smoke into the atmosphere, they have to follow certain rules or certain procedures or use certain equipments which is capable of reducing these particulate matters and poisonous gases and make the smoke harmless and then release it into the atmosphere. So how it is done, we shall look into. So this can be done mainly by the electrostatic precipitator. So electrostatic precipitator, it is capable of removing over 9% particulate matter present in the exhaust from a thermal power plant. So we'll take the example of an exhaust, that is the chimney of a thermal power plant, and through this chimney, the smoke and all is released to the atmosphere. You have seen in industries and all, right? So that is how it is released. So there is an instrument which is called as electrostatic precipitator that can be fitted to the chimney. So that electrostatic precipitator will work in such a way that it is capable of removing or filtering 99% of the particulate matter that is present in the smoke, then making the smoke harmless, and then so that it can be released, the harmless smoke can be released into the environment. So what is exactly this electrostatic precipitator made up of? Let us look into. So electrostatic precipitator has electrode wires that are maintained at several thousands of volts. So through this electrode wires, several thousands of volts of electricity is passed, and this produces a corona that releases electrons. So when to this electrode wires, several thousand volts of electricity is passed, a lot of electrons are released. So these electrons, they will go and attach or cling themselves or glue themselves to the dust particles, giving them a net negative charge. So this is what they do. So what does the electrostatic precipitator contain? The electrostatic precipitator contains a lot of electrode wires. To these electrode wires, they send thousands together volts of electric current. So when thousands together of volts of electric current is sent, so whatever, so when the smoke comes, so it will hold the smoke, and whatever particulate matter is there in the smoke, these electric charges, that is electric charges that will produce the electrons, they will go and fix themselves with the particulate matter or the dust particle, and that dust particle or the particulate matter will become negatively charged. So what happens when it becomes negatively charged? The velocity of the air between the plates must be low enough to allow the dust to fall. So what happens here is the weight of the dust particles will increase, or weight of the particulate matter will increase, and instead of it going up along with the air, it will just fall down. So here when it falls down, there will be a plate which consists of a scrubber. So these scrubbers, they are capable of removing gases like sulfur dioxide, which is one of the most important harmful gases that is present in the smoke that is left out by the thermal power plants. So in a scrubber, the exhaust is passed through a spray water or lime. So when it is passed through a spray water or lime, as you can see here, these are the dust particles. So here, as you can see, this is the chimney. So in the chimney, this particular electrostatic precipitator will be fitted. What is there in the electrostatic precipitator? Electrode wires are there, right? So these wires, to these wires, it will attain negative charges. How it will attain negative charges? So to these wires, 1000 volts of electric current will be passed. When 1000 volts of electric current are passed, they will contain negatively charged electrons. These negatively charged electrons will go and cling to the dust particles. From where is the dust particles coming? From the chimney, right? Say for example, from here it is moving. Here somewhere they have put a electrostatic precipitator. The same thing, they have fixed it here, this particular electrostatic precipitator. So when the smoke is moving, what is there in the smoke? Particulate matter, dust matter, everything is there, right? So that dust matter will be collected by the electrostatic precipitator. In that, the dust particles will cling on, or it will attach itself to the negative electrons, and then it will become negatively charged. Once it becomes negatively charged, it will just fall off into the scrubber. So it will fall to the scrubber. Now the dust particles and all will get removed. What about the poisonous gases? How to remove that poisonous gases? And along with that, when it is falling back, what happens? How to remove the poisonous gases? To remove the poisonous gases, here further the gaseous matter will move. Dust particles would have fallen onto the scrubber and everything, it would have become clean. Now the remaining that is smoke that is going, that smoke will be free of dust particles, because the dust particles would have been removed by the electrostatic precipitator. But in that smoke, what is there? The harmful gases are there. That should be removed. Say for example, such as sulfur dioxide. So sulfur dioxide will also get removed by the scrubber. But what about the other gases? How to remove it? So the other gases, when it passes here, there will be a tray which is filled with, or some spray will be let out, or with a spray will be sent into this particular chimney. That spray is nothing but it is a lime water spray. So that lime water spray will further clean the gaseous harmful substances that are there, and the air will become clean and it will be sent out through the chimney. So now you might have understood. So here the dirty air will enter. That dirty air, it will contain, what all will it contain? It will contain particulate matters, which is nothing but having harmful gaseous substances and dust particles. So the dust particles will be collected, and along with sulfur dioxide will be collected by the scrubber. So for the dust particles to fall to the scrubber, electrostatic precipitator will help. How it will help, I have told you. So when the dust particles becomes negatively charged, it will just fall onto the scrubber and it will get collected along with the removal of the sulfur dioxide. And now the air will be further passed through by spraying water or spraying lime water. That lime water will further purify the air, and that clean air will be let out through the chimney into the atmosphere. So where is the electrostatic precipitator fitted? Inside the chimney. So that is how the clean air is sent out. So that is why they recommend every industry should use this particular electrostatic precipitator in the chimney. So next, moving further, let us study why should the particulates be removed? What are the effects of particulates? So according to the Central Pollution Control Board, that is CPCB, particulate size in the smoke, which is 2.5 micrometer or less in diameter, that is PM 2.5 are responsible for causing the greatest harm to human health. So therefore, these particulates because they are lesser in size, therefore they are lighter in weight. They will easily escape through the smoke into the atmosphere. And when it is inhaled by the human beings, it will enter into the human's lung and cause a lot of respiratory problems. So that is how these particulates, which are very light in weight because they have a size of which is 2.5 micrometer or less than 2.5 micrometer diameter, those particulates will be collected. So to collect them, electrostatic precipitator is needed. So these fine particulates can be inhaled deep into the lungs and can cause breathing and respiratory disorders or symptoms, irritation to the lungs, inflammation of the lungs, and also it can cause a damage to the lungs, therefore premature death as well, because once the lungs get damaged completely, it cannot replenish itself. So that is when premature deaths can occur. We all know about a lot of ill effects that have been caused because of air pollution in Delhi, right? So that is because of the particulate matter present in the air. So this is about the effects of particulate matter. So how can we control the air pollution? So one important process that we learnt in detail was by using electrostatic precipitators in the chimneys. Right? Chimneys of industries, thermal power plants, smelters and all that, right? So here, apart from that, how can we control air pollution in automobiles? So automobiles also release, during combustion, they release a lot of harmful gaseous substances into the environment. How can that be controlled? So automobiles are one of the major causes of atmospheric pollution, that is in the metro cities. So as the number of vehicles increases in the street, this problem, that is the air pollution, also increases to a larger extent in the cities. So therefore, proper maintenance of discarding old automobiles, all that should be followed, and also we have to use lead-free petrol or diesel can be, so that we can reduce the pollutants that they emit. So first thing is, we need to take care of the automobiles. Proper maintaining of the automobile should be done so that it doesn't release too much of harmful gases to the atmosphere. Or one other thing is, lead-free petrol or diesels can be used so that the pollution can be reduced to some extent. So this is how air pollution can be controlled from automobiles. So next thing that can be used in automobile is to control air pollution is catalytic converter. So we can use electrostatic precipitator to control air pollution because of industries, thermal power plants and all that. That is, we can fit it to the chimneys. But to the exhaust of the car, can we fit an electrostatic precipitator? No, because the mechanism is completely different. That is when we use catalytic converters. So catalytic converters, they are quite costly because they have expensive metals in them, which is nothing but platinum, palladium, and they have rhodium as catalyst. So that is why it is quite costly. So in the catalytic converter, platinum, palladium and rhodium metals are used. So these platinum, palladium and rhodium metals, they act as catalyst. So these are fitted into the automobile. So it is nothing but an instrument. So inside this instrument, what is used? Metals are used, such as rhodium or platinum, palladium metals are used, and this one is fitted into the exhaust of the vehicles or are fitted into the automobiles. Therefore, the emission of the poisonous gases from the vehicles can be reduced. And as the exhaust passes through the catalytic converter, the unburned hydrocarbons that are there, they will be converted into carbon dioxide and water. We all know that when the engine is running, the petrol combustion or diesel combustion will take place, right? So whatever unburned hydrocarbons are there, that will be converted into carbon dioxide and water, so that hydrocarbons doesn't get directly released into the atmosphere. So because of combustion, hydrocarbons will get directly released to the atmosphere through the automobiles, which will cause air pollution. So, but when a catalytic converter is fitted into the automobile, as the smoke passes through the exhaust, what happens is whatever hydrocarbon is there, that will be converted into carbon dioxide and water. Release of carbon dioxide is not that a problem. Why? Because carbon dioxide will be utilized by the plants during photosynthesis. So, that is why. So, here it will be converted into carbon dioxide and water, and carbon monoxide and nitric acid will also be changed to carbon dioxide and nitrogen gas, because carbon monoxide is one of the main gases that causes a lot of respiratory issues. So, vehicles during combustion, they also release carbon monoxide and they also release nitric oxide. So, because of the presence of catalytic converter in the exhaust or in the automobile or in the vehicle, the carbon monoxide and nitric oxide, the carbon monoxide will get converted into carbon dioxide and the nitric oxide will get converted into nitrogen gas, both of which are present in the atmosphere already, and they are not that harmful to human beings. And motor vehicles equipped which are fitted with catalytic converter, one main problem here is, first thing is costly, because they contain heavy costly metals, expensive metals they are made up of. And one more thing is, whichever vehicle is using a catalytic converter, they should always use unleaded petrol, because lead that is there in the petrol, they can hinder or they can cause problem in the functioning, or they can inactivate the catalyst. So, what are the catalysts? That is the platinum, palladium and rhodium metal that is there, they'll make them inactive. So, if they make them inactive, then there is no use of using the catalytic converter. So, that is why unleaded petrol, that is petrols which do not have lead content in it, that only should be used to run vehicles which are fitted with catalytic converter. So, that is also one of the drawback of catalytic converters. So, this is how catalytic converter works. So, the main function of catalytic converter is, instead of the vehicles directly releasing the hydrocarbons to the atmosphere and releasing the carbon monoxide and nitric oxide to the atmosphere, which is harmful and which causes air pollution, the catalytic converters, they convert the hydrocarbons into carbon dioxide and water, they convert the carbon monoxide into carbon dioxide, and they convert the nitric oxide into nitrogen gas, so that it can be released to the air without causing any pollution. So, that is the main function of the catalytic converter. So, therefore, air pollution can be controlled by using electrostatic precipitator in industries and catalytic converters in automobiles. So, next we will take a case study of Delhi, wherein they took a measure in order to control vehicular air pollution. So, how exactly was this done? We shall look into. So, in the 1990s, Delhi actually ranked 4th among the 41 most polluted cities in the world. So, there were 41 polluted cities in the world, and among them Delhi was ranked in the 4th position in the year 1990s. And air pollution problem in Delhi became so much serious that the citizens of Delhi, or the people living in Delhi, they started to put a public interest litigation. They started to file a public interest litigation, that is PIL, in the Supreme Court of India, because the government was not taking much measures to reduce the air pollution, and therefore it was a problem for the people to live in that particular city. So, that is when they filed for PIL, that is public interest litigation, in the Supreme Court. So, after this PIL was filed, then the government woke up and then they took certain measures, because strict orders were given by the Supreme Court. So, after being censured very strongly by the Supreme Court, under its directive, under the directions given by the Supreme Court, or under the verdicts given by the Supreme Court, the government was asked to take certain measures within a specific period of time. That is, they had to take appropriate measures, such as they were told to switch over the entire fleet of public transport. That is, instead of, they were forced to pass laws or rules or regulations stating that unnecessary people should not use their vehicles. Instead of using their private vehicles, they have to prefer public transports for traveling. And they also made sure that the Supreme Court passed an order that all the public transport, if not the private vehicles, at least all the public transports, instead of using diesel and petrol, they should switch to the usage of compressed natural gas, because compressed natural gas doesn't cause any pollution to the environment. So this was the verdict that was given by the Supreme Court. So why actually did the Supreme Court prefer CNG over diesel? We shall see. Why CNG should be preferred than using the petrol or the diesel, we shall look into. So compressed natural gas, it burns more efficiently when compared to petrol or diesel, and also very little unburnt hydrocarbon is left. I told you, normal vehicles which use petrol and diesel, during combustion, a lot of unburnt hydrocarbon is left and it is released as such to the environment, leading to a lot of air pollution. But the thing with compressed natural gas is that very little, very minimal amount of unburnt hydrocarbon is left. Therefore, the pollution can be reduced. And apart from that, compressed natural gas is cheaper. That is, it is less expensive when compared to petrol or diesel. And also, compressed natural gas cannot be easily stolen or siphoned off by thieves. Otherwise, what usually thieves will do, whenever you park a vehicle, they'll just put a tube and they'll draw out petrol from it, right? So, but that cannot be done with compressed natural gas, because it is a gas. Where can you fill a gas into? It is not possible, right? So that is why it cannot be easily stolen or siphoned by the thieves. And also, because it is a gas and it is not in the form of a liquid, it cannot be easily adulterated like petrol or diesel. How petrol or diesel, they add kerosene and all that, and they give low quality diesel and petrol. So that is how they adulterate the petrol and the diesel, right? But that cannot be done with the compressed natural gas, because with gaseous substances, all this is not possible at all. So that is why it is always better to use CNG than the diesel or the petrol. But still, there are some limitations in using the compressed natural gas as a fuel. What are the limitations? We shall look into. So the main problem with switching over to compressed natural gas is the difficulty of laying down pipelines to deliver through distribution points. So petrol and all, it is in the form of a liquid. So in the petrol bunks, petrol tanker or a diesel tanker will come carrying the petrol or the diesel, and it will fill it in the tank, and whenever we go through the pipes and all that, petrol will be filled. But filling compressed natural gas, setting up compressed natural gas stations is very difficult, because proper storage of this is very difficult. So that is one of the limitation of compressed natural gas. So apart from that, there are no other limitations, and also there is no continuous supply of compressed natural gas, is not that continuous when compared to that of diesel or petrol. So that is also one limitation. So next, let's talk about the steps to reduce air pollution or to curb air pollution in Delhi. What were the steps that they followed? So other steps, so apart from the verdict given by Supreme Court, right? So Supreme Court stated that at least the public transport that are there, the buses, all those public transport, instead of using petrol or diesel, they should go green, wherein they should use compressed natural gas. So that was the main verdict that they put. So other steps that was followed in Delhi in order to curb air pollution was phasing out old vehicles. So old vehicles that were there, vehicles that were manufactured from one particular year to one particular year, all that should not be brought to the road. It should be banned. That is what they did. And also they suggested the use of unleaded petrol, because if we use unleaded petrol, we can use catalytic converters in the vehicle. That is also one of the reasons why unleaded petrol was preferred more than the leaded petrol or the diesel. And also use of low sulfur petrol and diesel was also recommended, and the use of catalytic converters in the vehicle was recommended, and also stringent measures or rules and regulations, strict rules and regulations were applied in order to control the pollutions of the vehicle. So some stringent pollution level norms for vehicles were also given. So that such as putting fines for people who did not follow all these rules and regulation, all that was done, because at least if you put fine, people will start to get scared and they will start to follow the rules and regulations. Apart from using CNG, this was also some of the steps that was followed in Delhi in order to reduce air pollution. So there are some steps which were followed to reduce air pollution in other cities also apart from Delhi. That is, throughout the country, there are different steps that are followed. So the government of India, through a new auto fuel policy, so they put forward a auto fuel policy wherein they laid out a roadmap in order to cut down vehicular pollution in Indian cities. So what they did was they put forward certain strict rules and regulations for fuel means, wherein they said that strictly you need to reduce the sulfur and the aromatic content in petrol and diesel fuels, because all these leads to a lot of pollution. So these were the steps that were taken. So one of the best example is there is one norm that is there which is called as the Euro 3 norms. So different norms have been come up. So a few years once they change the norm, they make some changes in that, they make it even more stricter with new laws and regulations. But in your textbook they have given Euro 3 norm. So we'll first study about this and we'll study about the other later. So Euro 3 norms, actually it states that, or it has been passed, or it puts a strict rule that sulfur be controlled at 350 parts per million in diesel and 150 parts per million in petrol. You cannot have petrol and diesel without sulfur. If we remove sulfur from that, then it is a problem to run vehicles. So how can we reduce sulfur? So they put a rule wherein in diesel there should be only 350 ppm of sulfur, and in petrol there should be only 150 ppm of sulfur. If more than that it is there, then it is against the rules and regulations of the vehicle. So that is what they put forward. And they also said that aromatic hydrocarbons in petrol and diesel should be only 42% and it should not be more than that. And they also put forward a goal according to the roadmap saying that they have to reduce, the vehicles have to reduce sulfur to 50 ppm in petrol. Later on they again put a rule that stating that in petrol 50 ppm of sulfur only should be there, and also in diesel 50 ppm of petrol should only be there, because as the number of vehicles increases they changed the norm. So according to Euro 3 norm, first thing was the content of sulfur in diesel should be 350 parts million, that is ppm, and in petrol it should be 150 ppm. Later on, when the number of vehicles increased, they brought down again the sulfur level in petrol and diesel to just 50 ppm. So all the petrol and diesel everywhere in the city or in the country, they should contain sulfur only of 50 ppm. That is what they said. And corresponding to the fuel vehicle engines will also need to be upgraded. So according to that, the fuel vehicle engines should be upgraded in such a way that even it can run with petrols and diesel having only 50 ppm of sulfur in it. So that is why we said every time they try to renew the vehicle they try to renew, and that is when one time they put a restriction stating that those vehicles which were manufactured at so and so period should not be brought to the road, because they were not designed in such a way that they could run using petrol and diesel having only 50 ppm of sulfur. So that is when they changed the norms. So this is about the Euro 3 norms. So let's look into the other examples wherein we have the mass emission standards. So mass emission standards such as the Bharat Stage 2. We'll talk about Bharat Stage 2. So this is also, Bharat Stage 2 also has some norms and it is meant only for India, our country, that is India. So Bharat Stage 2 also has some norms which is almost equal to the norms that are framed by Euro 2 norms. So according to Euro 2 norms, keeping that as a base, Bharat Stage 2 norms was also put forward. So what is there in the Bharat Stage 2 norms? We shall look into. But Bharat Stage 2 norms are no more applicable in any of the cities in India. But there are other norms. As I told you, every few years once the norms tend to change because the vehicle number will increase, the amount of pollution will again increase. So all that time, even more stricter norms should be brought forward. So we'll look into a table here wherein the Bharat Stage 2 norms have been improvised and what are the latest mass emission standards that have to be followed in India, we shall look into. So, according to the latest norms that have been put forward by the mass emission standards, the rules that have to be followed are for four-wheelers. So, now at present, Bharat Stage 4 norms are there. So, according to Bharat Stage 4 norms, what are the rules and regulations we shall look into? So, the rules for four-wheeler is that throughout the country, it was implemented throughout the country since April 2017. Started in April 2017 and for three-wheelers, it should be implemented throughout the country since 1st April 2017 itself. And two-wheelers also, the norm should be implemented since April 2017. So, according to the mass emission standards, that is Bharat Stage 4 norms is currently followed since 2017. It is Bharat Stage 4 norms that have been followed and they have put some norms for four-wheelers, three-wheelers and two-wheelers and those standards or emission standards. So, emission standards, do you remember or do you know that the vehicle has to go through some emission standards? So, emission testing centers will be there, right? So, those emission testing centers will have a chart wherein they'll have some rules and regulations. So, rules and regulations framed by the Bharat Stage 4 norms. Vehicles should meet all the standards according to the rules and regulations of the Bharat Stage 4 norms and they'll give you a certificate. So, that certificate, whenever you caught by a traffic police or someone, they might ask you to show your emission certificate and if the emission certificate is not fulfilling with the norms, then your vehicle will be seized and it will never be allowed on the road. So, that is why we need to follow all the vehicles, be it the four-wheeler, three-wheeler or two-wheeler should follow all these norms, all the different norms that are given by the Bharat Stage 4 norm which is currently running nowadays. So, this is about air pollution. These are the different strict rules and regulations that have been followed to reduce air pollution. So, next let's talk about noise pollution. So, noise pollution. So, any undesirable change occurring in the noise or undesirable high level sound can be considered noise pollution or it can be called as noise. So, what are the effects of noise pollution? Let's look into. So, noise pollution can have a very much harmful impact on the brain of the person wherein it can lead to a lot of psychological and physiological disorders in human beings and continuous exposure to extremely high level of sound, that is 150 decibel or more than 150 decibel. Say for example, those sounds that are generated by jet planes or rockets, they may actually damage the eardrums and therefore they may cause permanent impairing of hearing ability or it may make the, so any noise that is 150 decibel or more than that make that person permanently deaf. So that is one of the effect of noise pollution. And continuous or chronic exposure to relatively lower noise level in cities may permanently damage the hearing abilities of the human beings and also apart from that it can cause insomnia or sleeplessness in the human beings. It can cause increased heartbeat rate and it can alter the breathing of the person and also it can cause a lot of stress in human beings. So, these are the effects of noise pollution. So, be it a very loud noise or be it continuous exposure to low level noise also, it can cause a lot of problem. So, these are the effects. Next, talking about how to control noise pollution. So, noise pollution can be controlled by reducing the noise. So, how can we reduce the noise? Say for example, in industries which are having heavy machinery, there continuously people working in industries are exposed to noise. So, how can the noise be prevented there? So, reduction of noise industries can be done by using sound absorbent materials or by muffling the noise. So, sound absorbing materials can be put to the walls. so that it will absorb the sound and sound will not get rebounded and enter into the ears of the people working there. Or otherwise, people can muffle the noise by using some earbuds or something which is designed in such a way that will reduce the noise. So that such instruments also can be used. And stringent laws should be followed, or strict laws should be followed in relation to noise, like reducing the use of horns, wherein horn-free zones, you might have seen wherever there is schools, hospitals and all that, they would have put a yellow traffic signal or a board stating that no horn please, right? So that there the noise pollution can be reduced. That is in hospitals, schools and all that. You have to make noise-free zones, and also strict rules should be framed or strict measures should be taken whoever doesn't follow this particular rule. And also permissible sound levels of crackers and loudspeakers should be maintained. There is a level of sound that the government has set. Above that level, crackers should not be burst or the loudspeaker should not be used. And also timing should be given for the bursting of crackers and also the usage of loudspeakers. Morning and all, it is fine, but when it is night and when the entire city is calm, you're not supposed to burst crackers or use loudspeakers. And also a lot of other laws also have been put forward in order to curb the noise pollution. So this is about the control measures that can be taken in order to control the noise pollution. So here there are certain laws that have been passed in order to control pollution. So in order to control environmental pollution, the Government of India has passed the Environment Protection Act, or it is called as the Environment Act, which came into effect from 1986 in order to protect and improve the quality of the environment, such as improve the quality of air, water and soil. And in India, to prevent air pollution, a Air Act, which is called as the Air Prevention and Control of Pollution Act, came into force in the year 1981. And it came into force in 1981, but it was strictly followed or put into action in the year 1987, which includes noise pollution as well as air pollution also, because air pollution and noise pollution are usually clubbed together. So that is why the Air Act put certain rules and regulations to decrease air pollution and noise pollution. So these are some of the laws passed to protect the environment and to protect the to control the pollution in the environment. So this was about the session wherein we mainly concentrated on environmental issues such as the air pollution and noise pollution, and what are the measures that can be followed to control air pollution and noise pollution. So in the coming session, let us discuss about water pollution and what are the different control measures that can be followed to curb water pollution. So there are various sewage treatments and all that are followed to curb water pollution. So we shall look into. So we shall meet again in the coming session. Thank you.